Hello everyone, and welcome to the channel. In today's video, I'll be going over 10 tips to improve the Academy 1:400 scale Titanic model. This model was released in the late 1990s and was meant to be a counterpart to the slightly larger 1:350 scale model by Minicraft. There have been a few iterations of this kit over the years, including a centenary version that included wooden decks and photo etch parts. That particular kit is no longer produced, but fortunately you can still find a variety of wooden decks and brass parts for the latest edition of the model. Now without further ado, here are 10 tips to improve your Academy Titanic model. Tip number 1. Use the Flyhawk Enhancement Kit. One of the most effective things you can do to improve your Academy model is to buy the Enhancement Kit by Flyhawk. These cost about $100 on eBay and usually ship from China. They include a full set of photo etch window frames, railings, davits, cranes, and wooden decks. You truly get everything you need to detail your Titanic model with this kit. In my video review of this model, I address many of the specific details that the Flyhawk kit allows you to include. Link in the description. Tip number 2. If using wood decks, paint the plastic decks white before gluing the wood on. Academy has made a habit out of molding many of the parts for the 1:400 model in color. Practically all of these parts should be painted over, and the decks are no exception. They are molded in a fairly dark tan color that is dissimilar to the appearance of Titanic's decks. If you're going to cover these parts with wooden decks, be sure to first hide that tan color with white paint before gluing the wood on. You don't want the tan color peeping out beneath the wood. If you're not using wooden decks, I'd recommend painting the plastic decks with a light sand color, such as Vallejo's Ivory. Tip number 3. Don't leave any plastic unpainted. Plastic surfaces on models result in a toy-like appearance. For a better scale effect, it's helpful to paint all plastic parts, even if a piece is molded in the color that it's intended to appear in. For the Academy model, you'll particularly want to paint the hull a flat black color, even though the hull is already molded in black. Similarly, all the walls, cranes, vents, and any other white structure should be painted flat white. Tip number 4. Paint the lip of the funnels black. Academy designed the funnels for this kit to come together in two sections, a bottom section and a black top section. Most modelers simply attach the upper assembly to the bottom and leave it as it is, but you'll want to paint that lip on the upper part of all the parts on sprue G black to reflect Titanic's funnels more accurately. Speaking of the funnels, I wouldn't recommend using the plastic funnel ladders in this kit. They are quite bulky and should be replaced by photo etch parts or not included at all. The plastic ladders will negatively affect the overall appearance of your funnels. I would recommend painting the bottom part of the funnels with Tamiya TS46 light sand or Mission Models British Sand modern yellow. In any case, don't leave them the bright orange color that they're molded in. Tip number 5. Use model Caston fine rigging wire for the rigging. A spool of thread is included with the model to serve as rigging. However, this material is far too thick to accurately represent rigging on the Titanic at a 1:400 scale. I use model Caston .047mm rigging wire, which retains a taut appearance and will not fray. For more detail on rigging, I have a video on this material and how I added it to the model. Link in the description. Tip number 6. Glue the superstructure onto the hull before adding the boat deck assembly. In step 33 of the instructions, Academy has the builder attach the superstructure walls to the boat deck and promenade deck. This assembly is then attached to the hull in step 34. I would recommend attaching the superstructure walls to the hull before adding the promenade or boat decks. Once these walls, parts A1 and A2, are attached to the hull, you can then add the promenade deck. I would also recommend attaching the boat deck to the larger assembly before building any of the deck houses or funnels. This will prevent damaging any details when you glue down the boat deck. Tip number 7. If using photo etch windows, cut out the plastic frames first. Using photo etch window frames is one of the best ways to enhance the detail of your Titanic model in any scale. Unfortunately, the Academy model has plastic ones molded into the walls. To properly detail the windows, you'll need to carefully carve out the plastic window frames using an X-Acto knife or a similar tool. This was by far the most tedious part of the build, but the results are well worth it. Once the plastic is removed, you can use microcrystal clear to glue in the brass frames and simulate glass behind them at the same time. Tip number 8. Add a fifth arched window to part C50. A very visible detail that is missing from C50 is a fifth arched window on the port side of the ship. You can fairly easily carve out this fifth window using an X-Acto knife or something similar. Tip number 9. Carefully select your paint colors. Even if you are not an experienced builder, picking historically informed paint colors for your Titanic is perhaps the most important thing you can do to enhance your model's appearance, regardless of your skill level. There are many resources on selecting colors for a Titanic model, including a video that I've made on the subject. The description for that video includes a full list of paints that I used, as well as better alternatives. Tip number 10. Study references. Having references is critical when building any model. It's important to have some familiarity with the architecture and overall appearance of your subject. There are many outstanding models of the Titanic, and I primarily looked to the models of Art Braunschweiger, Jason King, and the digital recreations of Vasilije Ristović. Links to images of these models are in the description. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video proves helpful in your efforts to build the Academy 1-400 Titanic. For further information, I've compiled all my videos of this model into a playlist. If you have any questions, please leave a comment.